Welcome back to the X Podcast. Sitting here with Zach Brown, Tim Moore.
Hey.
What's up, man?
Just names.
How's it
And
going?
Russell. John Russell.
With the arena, you're listening to the voice of Russell Moore.
Was it your intention this year, a new year of podcasts? Are we still in a new year at this point?
What do you mean?
To not have any names for...
Oh,
No
definitely
nicknames.
not. I just think it's good to switch it up from time to time.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
dang it.
last week, we
My
outed your
Christmas
motto
wish did not
of
come
25
through.
and alive. And so we just thought, we'll give it a week.
One day, we'll stop the nicknames.
You love it, though. You love it.
I'm gonna start dropping nicknames for you, buddy. Watch out.
Hey, listen, if you give us nicknames, Debbie Smith's going to listen and come to your rescue. Debbie Smith, if you're listening,
Yeah, she probably is.
She's a loyal soldier.
Yeah.
I love Debbie Smith. She's great.
She is great.
Yes.
Well, how are you doing since the last episode?
Doing great.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Doing
Living the dream.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot going on in the world.
When is there not? I feel like
I know,
we start
I
episodes.
hate- I
There's
hate
a lot
that
going
statement.
on. When is
I do
there
hate that
not?
statement. But, we're in the middle of 21 days of prayer and fasting. I usually try to tune out all the noise. So I try not to do news, but I've not done a great job the first week of tuning out. But honestly, the last 3 or 4 weeks anyways have been like even more than normal, it seems like, in terms of, starting like on New Year's Eve day with terrorist attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Going even before that to everything with the drones to, okay, if I could just, let me take a plane and land it and then let y'all just go. How's that sound?
Ooh, okay.
Okay. And this all with respect.
Usually when people say that, they don't.
Yeah, but I do. I mean it with
You know,
respect.
that's like-
I mean it with respect. So we have an outgoing president that I think, whatever side you're on, it's safe to say has been kind of absentee in leadership with a lot going on that we probably need some leadership in the country on. Still seems to be struggling. Saw a really pitiful video of him singing happy birthday to a boy again 2 nights ago where he forgot the guy's name, and it was not pretty. And then on I'm not, and I don't know. And on top of that, regardless how you feel about it, pardoned his son, pardoned about 1,500 other people.
It was more than that.
Just awarded George Soros,
Hillary Clinton.
well, hold on, let me. So there's been all this. Then you have an incoming president that has picked a cabinet that,
One of them had to resign already.
Yeah, that's something we could dissect. Some of those, has picked a cabinet. We'll just say has picked a cabinet. Has said some, pretty wild things each day. Is trying to make Canada the 21st state.
21st.
51st. Has refused to give assurance that we will not use the military to take Greenland or the Panama Canal, and has decided to rename the Gulf of Mexico. So whatever side you're on, can we just acknowledge we're not at the peak of our political leadership prime? That'd be safe to say.
I don't have a side.
Yeah.
I will say, but when you think about some of the things that have happened, first I think about the terrorist attacks.
Well, yeah.
I think we should. I think that there's a story behind the terrorist attacks that I find really fascinating, which being that you have this terrorist attack that happens in New Orleans. And what day was that game supposed to be played? Was that Christmas?
Day.
That was New Year's Day, right?
Yep.
Because they postponed it to Thursday, right? The following
Correct.
Thursday.
No.
Or was it Monday? Was it the next day they did?
It was the next day.
Okay. And then you have the Cybertruck bomb that went
Same
off.
day. Wednesday. So both these things happened on New Year's Day, which was
Right.
Wednesday. The New Orleans attack was about 3 in the morning. And then the Cybertruck thing happened about 7 in the morning LA time, which was about 10 in the morning.
Wait, so that happened first?
No.
You said 3
3 in the morning,
was the
New Orleans, East Coast
New Orleans
time.
time. Oh, East Coast time.
East Coast
Okay.
time. And then
I didn't know how early that
it
was.
was about 7 in the morning Vegas time, which is about 10 in the morning.
Right.
East Coast time was the...
And that seemed like
Cybertruck
obviously
thing.
there was a message sent when it was a Cybertruck in front of a Trump tower. Which then
What
it's like,
message are you talking about?
I don't know, but it seems like a specific message was being sent.
Potentially.
when you, and
No, but see, this is where the media, it went back and forth.
Sure.
Because, part of the media was like, see, this is a message being sent. Then it come to find out that this guy actually really supported Trump. So then it came back out and was like, well, okay, no, but on all these fronts of
Yeah.
terrorism, the media went back and forth
Yeah.
depending on the narrative. In fact, which one was it where originally they said, oh, this person's an immigrant?
Fox News.
yeah.
Yep. And was it the Cybertruck one?
No, that was New
That
Orleans.
was
New
New
Orleans.
Orleans. And then it came out, no, this person is not an immigrant. So then it came back out and said, well, okay, even though we've realized this person's not an immigrant, there's still, this goes to show what can happen. Both sides
Yeah.
of the news have just got.
Well, the goal of news media is not always to tell the truth, but it is to keep your eyeballs and tell a narrative as fast as you can.
Yeah.
That's just the goal of media. And then kind of later, what seemed to come out is that weird connection, which may not be that weird at all, that all of these guys are former military and they all served at Fort Bragg. See, I remember someone just posted and go, what's happening at Fort Bragg?
Yeah.
And it was like, it's just strange because they kind of feel like terrorist type attacks, the internal, like,
but the
and
media
former
emphasizes there's
military.
no connection.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they're Fort Bragg. And then even the FBI, what was 4 hours later, I forget after which one of those, came out and said, but we do not think this is a terrorist attack. I'm like, FBI, take a lesson from the media and actually wait and do some research first, because we come to find out, which again, I feel like this already feels like 2 years ago, but which one they had an ISIS flag in the back.
It was
New Orleans.
The media censored and took that out of the story.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
So I've got a list of about 5 or 6 different things. I want to rapid fire this just to keep us on track on this episode.
We've also forgotten that January 6th.
January
We
6th,
We
sure.
actually just had the 4-year anniversary, the peaceful transference of power.
Yep.
And Trump's on his
Well,
way
Congress
in to
certified
20th,
it.
but he still has another criminal trial to go through. Go on.
So I want to we're going to rapid fire.
Okay.
I want all 3 of us to share our reactions in, let's say, a minute or less for these things, and then I'm going to take us into an interesting conversation. So we're going to start with kind of before Christmas, the Biden pardons. What's your reaction to him pardoning his son and giving the Medal of Freedom to a lot of controversial people? That's been more recent, but specifically the pardon for his son.
Conflicted. I'm not a father, but I can only imagine what you would want to do for a father, especially if you feel like your son's been mistreated. At the same time, looks really bad. And you give ammunition to everything that you've been accusing the right of doing. And anytime either party uses their power for self-serving reasons, you give ammunition to that party and you empower that party to do the same thing on their own terms the next time around.
Yeah.
So conflicted. I feel for him as a father. I think it was a poor move that had a really bad look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know that any president has pardoned more people than Joe Biden has.
Barack
true.
Obama, nope.
Nope.
Barack Obama pardoned 1,900.
He's already pardoned over 8,000 at last
8,000?
count. 8,000
Oh,
at last count.
The stat I read must have been okay. 1,500 at the end.
That was in one day.
That was in one day. Yes,
that was
yes,
in one
yes.
day. I think it's up to 8,000
Yeah.
that he's pardoned.
Because I was looking at stats and I thought it
Yeah.
gave me the stats for
Yeah.
at the very end.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a really bad look. And what the funniest, I don't really have anything to say other than the funniest memes that came out of it was how many clips there were of his press secretary when they've asked over and over for the last 6 months or whatever, is he going to do this? Is he going to pardon? No, he will not. He believes in the law. He's not going to do this and this, and then he does.
Yep.
And it is somebody who is at the end of his term, probably at the end of his life or wits. I mean, I don't know. I don't know his physical health, but you can see. I mean, he even said in the most recent interview that he's like, I don't know that I could have made it another term. Like, he even just kind of all but admitted that. You're looking at somebody who's like, I'm going out anyways. I'm going to pardon everybody. So it's, to me, if anything, all it does is expose the reality of politics, and that is that there is no one good side. There's, it's like both sides are taking advantage
you have
of
the other
power.
side,
You got the other side,
where
you got
Trump is going to pardon every
suggesting-
criminal that stormed the...
Hold on. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. So, for me on Biden, definitely, I think that it's definitely a reversal. It's definitely sad. And it just goes to show, I just think that we've lost the art of what it means to be honest in our politics. And I get it that it's politics, and if you tell people honestly what you're planning on doing, you might not get elected. So you say what you want to say to get elected. But I just think, how different would it have been if you just would have been honest and said, hey, this is my son, and I don't think what he is doing was illegal or to the status of what the charges were being brought against him. It's the same type of thing that I felt like I was accused of in bringing lawfare against Trump, and so therefore I'm going to pardon him. If you would have just said that and pardoned him, you would have at least been, okay, like, I can respect you being honest. But it's the claiming of the moral high ground and then doing the opposite of that just gives you a bad taste in your mouth. And honestly, I think the Democrats as a party have taken that position more oftentimes than not. Mm-hmm. And if they want to get things figured out in this country, they got to figure out how to not do that.
Yeah.
So
I would say, just a quick point. Like, I agree with you. I think the difference between Joe Biden and Trump is that Trump from the beginning is pretty consistent in saying he's going to pardon all of them. Where Joe Biden's like, I'm not going to pardon. I believe in the rule of law. Whoop, now I'm going to pardon him.
Yep.
With a lot of other people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the difference.
We've already mentioned the terrorist attacks. I mean, anything else we want to say about those other than just
I think most
tragic?
importantly, I was going to say is our condolences.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
Couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, it's just evil. And there are a lot of families grieving, and our hearts go out to those cities, those communities, those families.
Yeah.
One other nuance I want to say about those things. Obviously, it was tragic and it was terrible. This is more of a sports note, and because I love sports and we're heavily invested right now in the college football playoff because of our Buckeyes, go Bucks. They made the decision to suspend the Sugar Bowl to the next day. And ESPN made an interesting decision. They had a tribute, moment of silence for the victims, and then they had a special playing of the national anthem. They had just like display a patriotic moment, kind of in honor of that. And it's funny, ESPN made a decision to not air that, and instead air a message from the Allstate CEO, which I don't know if you saw this, got a ton of blowback and pushback for what he said in the message, to the point where Allstate actually retracted the message and took it down because it just was not very sensitive to the moment. And it's just an interesting dichotomy of our culture. He expressed his condolences, but then basically went on and said, and this is an example of how we've allowed division.
He made a political statement about it.
Yeah, made a political statement about it. And we need to stop allowing division to come into this country, and we need to root it out and get rid of all of it. And that's why this is occurring. So you have to go back and watch it and make your own conclusions based on the video. I'm sure it's out there on social media somewhere.
It's been removed. It's been redacted.
From their official account, yes. I'm sure you can find it.
Why would ESPN not want to air a moment of silence for 30-some families that, lost someone or however many the count was?
A lot of people are asking that question.
Why would you be opposed to that?
Well, I don't know why.
Why do you need to give Allstate a CEO a moment?
Well, it certainly makes you wonder, like, what their priorities are in terms of...
Have you seen all the... Sorry, you have...
No.
So, I mean... There's so many places we could go culturally this. Right now, I think we've talked about this for a while. We are finally seeing the pendulum swing back culturally, and I think a lot of it has to do with the incoming administration. and we've seen, I think, signs of this over the last year from, for lack of better words, quote unquote, wokeism. Like, have you seen McDonald's just came out and retracted all of their like DEI stuff that they started in 2020, like or most of it.
Yep.
Multiple companies are doing this, and the narrative is to kind of like suck up to the incoming administration. Amazon, what was it? Amazon did.
You think so? Here's a question.
Yeah.
I don't know, so I'm speculating. Do you think it's to suck up to, or do you think that it was heavily pushed by a previous administration? In other words, was this forced on corporations to do this when maybe they didn't want the expense and to do it?
Because
and now they're.
I don't think so, because a lot of this started when Trump was still in office in the wake of all the cultural and civil movements of 2020. But another one, oh my gosh, who was it? Zuckerberg.
Yep, that's the big one.
Took away fact checking.
Yep, that's the big one. Any reactions to that? I mean, so if you don't know, he came out and he basically said, we're going to remove and let go of all of the fact checkers that Meta employs for Instagram and Facebook, and they were going to go to user-generated community notes, exactly like X and what Elon Musk has. Zuckerberg basically said, yeah, you're going to see a lot more harmful content, but it'll be freer speech. And he basically admitted.
Do you think it's because they've been on the hot seat? Because of all this, like, it's kind of like, hey, we were doing this, which, again, there's been a lot of people who even worked inside that said that they have an agenda, or at least they have a perspective on what they do allow and don't allow.
Yep.
So that's obviously brought, and they had the court stuff in front of Congress and all that. Do you think it's kind of like, hey, if this is where it's going, I can save money, we can eliminate these positions, and it'll be free speech?
Maybe. I think that ultimately these are for-profit companies that are going to do whatever they need to do to go with whatever's going on.
That might be a way to make more money. I mean,
and have a good reputation. I also think there's something else going on that's tied in with some other news that we'll kind of land on later down the road. And
his public reasoning was the fact checking, because of political bias, has actually hurt trust more than built trust.
Yeah,
and right now, trust is
that's kind of my point, that there was a perspective or an agenda. And
yep. Speaking of, Russ plugs his microphone
hopefully
back in.
I heard that.
Can you still hear me?
Let's talk about Trump's cabinet real quick. President Trump's incoming cabinet. It's been heavily influenced by tech and Silicon Valley world. Elon Musk has played a major role in the government, in even without being elected into an official status. He's been doing all these different people. One has already backed down. Thoughts on incoming cabinet, different things like that? Any reaction? A minute or less.
I can do less. I think all these people pick people that either supported them, gave a lot of money, or will fulfill their agenda.
You think all these people what?
No, I said I think that's what a lot of people end up doing in general when they have to pick a cabinet, is they're going to pick people who they're going to obviously have their take on what they want to fulfill, what they want to do. I think the people like Matt Gaetz, like everybody kind of knew like that this dude shouldn't be on there. I mean, he was under investigation forever, and it was about to come out.
And they released
and
a
then
report,
they released it anyways, and it was not good. I read all that.
Most presidents, that's what they do?
Yes, I'm saying
I
different.
disagree.
Yeah, I totally think most presidents pick people, not some of the people that he picked, but I do think that they pick people. They're usually going to pick people that they're going to fulfill their agenda. Now, you can question what that is in that agenda.
Yeah.
Or fulfill Elon's agenda. We're not sure which one. We're not sure which one. I don't think too highly of some of the people that he has selected. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I don't know some of them.
To me, I mean, this is just. I think most people. It seems to me most presidents, yes, will pick a lot of people that they believe will support, but will also pick people that they think are the highest qualified. And then I think you have even people like, I mean, love or hate President Obama. Like, I don't love a lot of his policy, but one of the things that makes me respect him the most is there are Republicans that have come out that have talked about in the interview process. They asked him, like, hey, why did you pick me? I've said horrible things about you, President Obama, and you know that I completely disagree with you. And President Obama said, and that's why I picked you. Because I don't want to just have yes people around. I want to have people that are intelligent, qualified, and that will disagree with me. So to me, I'm not quite sure how to sugarcoat this. To me, it seems really obvious. I mean, from President Trump's own mouth, like, his loyalty is very big to him.
Yep.
So to me, it seems really clear that he, from statements out of his own mouth, he has picked people regardless whether, even if their only qualification is a Fox News host or whatever it may be,
they're going to advance his agenda.
If they love him and will do whatever he says, he will pick them.
I agree.
So I think that would be my little nuance of disagreement.
Yeah.
He's going off the fact that he believes he has a mandate from the people. You can agree with that, or you can agree with that or disagree with that. But you know,
I was going to say there's no difference. There's no. Trump only has yes men. There's no one to change his mind, anyways. So it doesn't matter if you yes or no man. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
I think his first term, he picked
a more traditional cabinet.
More traditional cabinet.
Yeah. And they fought him.
And he fired most of them.
And when people disagreed or pushed back, he fired them.
He probably is like, I don't want to fire people this much this time.
He still will.
I
don't think he can resist it. But
is he annoyed with Elon yet?
There's fractures happening, I think. Like I said, I follow somebody that's talking about there's major fractures between more traditional Trump supporters that have been part of his campaign and other stuff, and Elon Musk, like with the immigration stuff and all those, like there's like H-1B, there's major. I don't know that this is not like my personal, but just from reading some of those things, I don't know that the Elon thing is going to last.
We'll find out.
Like I would be really surprised if it lasts, and if it does, then you're going to see a bunch of other people that are probably more campaign political people. I think they're gonna run.
So in the craziness and insanity of the last 5, 6, 7 years, the fact that we're not just jumping on ahead to is colonization back in trend. Should we just? I mean, like
we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Okay. What are you doing?
There's a few more things.
Okay.
We got to get through.
Well, let's get there.
My reaction to the cabinet. I agree with everything. I think I'm with what you're saying, Pastor Russ. I think there's definitely some questions on the people and and their qualifications and where they're at.
You question them?
I'm very curious if he does end up eliminating the Department of Education, what that does. If he also is going to create a Department of Governmental Efficiency. Both those things I don't think can happen without congressional approval, so I don't know if that's something that he can just unilaterally create or do. Seems like he thinks he can. We'll find out if he can or not. Is anyone else concerned about the fact that the collective net worth of all of his cabinet is like, oh gosh, over $500 billion? Like, I mean, it's insane. It's made up by
Elon
some of the
Musk
world's most
2/3 of that.
But even some of the other ones are billionaires. Like,
sure.
If anything, as I've gotten older, I'm not. We shouldn't be afraid of people who have money, who they're not all these evil Illuminati people who are trying to govern the world or different things like that. But don't you think that there isn't going to be some conflict of interest and/or people who have the machines and levers of government that can do things that will affect their businesses and the way that they make money, that won't govern or do things with those things in mind?
Yeah, I hate the anti-wealth movement on one hand.
I'm not trying to be anti-wealth.
No, but I'm saying, to your point, I think there's legitimate concern that we also not move towards an autocracy or an oligarchy.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't necessarily disagree. I think there's probably also two perspectives on this, just to add a different one.
Yeah.
There's one where you have a bunch of people in office who want to get rich and then actually pull the lever so that they do get rich. Or you can have where you have people who are insanely rich who are in the office that don't need to pull the levers to get rich. Now, I don't know if that exists, though.
But does that
Like-
play out in human nature? Like,
Well, I don't
do
know.
the wealthy or powerful ever feel like they're wealthy or powerful enough?
I don't know, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. I mean, there's people who are working on giving away their fortunes.
No.
who
I'm
don't-
not criminalizing wealth, but what I'm saying
Sure.
is Bill Gates isn't trying to get in power. Bill Gates was just wealthy.
Sure.
And then use that wealth. Some people think he's the Antichrist. Some people say he's helped save pandemics.
Right.
Not a lot in between. But but my point is, I don't know if in human nature, I think you have to look at somebody's character, not their net worth.
Sure.
But I do think that,
what I'm saying is I don't. Yes, but what you're saying is not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're saying could people potentially use their wealth to get power? Yes, that's possible. It seems like what Elon Musk has done. There's a difference between that and what I thought you were saying, which is having wealthy people in there turn the wheels so that they can gain more out of it. I'm saying he's already gaining power out of it.
you're talking about control.
I'm talking about control.
Yeah.
Like create
Yeah.
financial incentives or mechanisms or things that would enable them to either remain in power or create systems that
To get what they want.
to get what they want.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what it is that they want. If they want control or power, they already have it. If they are in the
control.
highest office of the land and you literally have the ear of the most powerful person, I don't know what other power you want.
Well, maybe there's not, but
Like, I don't know
it's
what
prob-
power you want if you're Elon Musk to be in charge of government efficiency.
Oh,
Maybe
I
there
think
is.
there's a whole lot. I mean, you could get rid of
Freedoms.
any amount of regulations. I mean, heck, we could take over other countries. Huh?
Yeah. We've got a couple more things on the list, and then we'll get there.
I mean, you know.
So J6, we just passed it. There was a video going
January
around
6th.
of
Just sounded weird the way he said it.
okay.
It just sounded the way he said it.
I
I'd
heard
say
something
just
really
January
odd.
6th.
January 6th.
J6?
January 6th. There,
Yeah,
I'd translate
I'm going to
that.
text you what I think y'all said.
Speaking of funny things, I don't know if this was a social media video or if this actually happened, but there was a video going around on X of JD Vance kind of chuckling as Vice President Harris was reading off the tally of the votes as she had to announce.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw that.
that she,
I didn't see that.
yeah, I don't know. Again, it could have been AI
That's
or
a weird.
social
That's a
media.
weird dynamic.
weird moment.
Isn't it?
It
Weird
is a
moment
weird
where you have to
moment.
read the.
But we did have a certification.
Certification on January 6th.
There was there is a peaceful transfer of power happening, even though it has been a crazy thing with the 4-year anniversary. In reaction to that, obviously President Trump has promised that he's going to immediately pardon every single person who's connected with January 6th that has been put into jail. Your reaction?
I mean, I don't know how to react. I don't know how to react.
Okay.
What about you?
I don't really have much of a reaction.
No reaction? Neither do I.
I mean, I'm grateful that this time around that we aren't sitting in my office watching a crazy scene going, what in the world is going on? I'm grateful that it happened this time and it was very uneventful
Yeah.
in that regard. I think that's a real positive thing, at
Yeah.
least for our country and the process that we had that, you know, I think at least I can say that. I'm
It
grateful
just-
for that.
My only reaction is it's so, as someone who's trying to follow the events of what's happening in our country, it's so hard to determine what is justice, what is not
Yeah.
justice. I mean,
That to me is, I think, that in light of everything where we talked about all of Biden's pardons, and then you got what Trump is predicting to pardon, right?
yes.
I think what I don't like any of it is it almost kind of creates this environment that you can do whatever you want,
And then as the right person,
and
is
as
in
long as the
charge.
right person's in power,
Then
yeah,
you're fine.
So as long as you can do whatever you want politically or illegally, and do whatever you want that season, as long as the right person's in power, you're going to get away with it. Like, to me,
So it's anarchy.
this is it's just such an awful. Just in general, I'm just saying the idea of this.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we just need to drop the
Yeah.
idea of the president having power to pardon.
Yeah, this
And if
is
you
my
want-
naivety. I didn't know until like 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even 6 years ago, that was a thing. I never knew.
Well, it
like
used
I
to
remember,
be sometime it was in the 20s. It
Yes.
was 100.
and my understanding was, and I'm going to go out on a limb and assume this was the intention of it, is that it was never for personal gain. It was, I mean,
Yeah.
didn't Barack Obama, like, weren't there a bunch of young men in like prison for decades off like minor marijuana charges, and didn't he like pardon a bunch of them or something? Like my understanding was, for non-personal reasons, if there was an injustice, not as a what do you call it? I don't know, pull card or whatever.
Yeah.
That you could, get out of jail free card for your
Right.
friends
Yeah.
and family. I didn't think it worked that way, but
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it should.
No.
I don't personally. I mean, for someone who loves the idea that mercy could be shown to different people, and I think there's situations where you, especially when you've had people who have been on death row, and then there's it's been there for a long time, there's some real questions about their case and
Yeah.
certain things. Like, I almost like. I like there to be an ability to do it, but I almost think, this sounds weird, I almost think that if there was a pardon even thing that happened, which maybe this would go against everything, it seems like it would be better if it happened from the Supreme Court. But even that, I think, is kind of weird because they represent law and justice, and to go reverse it, just to reverse it, seems like it makes no sense either.
Two last thoughts, and then we're going to move on to our final topic that Pastor Russ is very eager to talk about.
what is that? What am I eager to talk
So it's not just the pardons. I mean, we have the cases that were all dropped against incoming President Trump because of his election and the fact that he's now a sitting president, so he can't be prosecuted. So all these cases with all these charges that were brought against him, whether or not you believe it was lawfare and the charges were justified or not justified, we're not going to get the chance to see those things play out in a court of law. And so those things are not going to happen. He is scheduled to be sentenced for the charges he was convicted of on
Yeah.
January 10th.
For which ones?
This was the Stormy Daniels.
the only
case.
one that he was convicted of.
Well,
and-
I'm just saying he had about dozens of trials.
They're all gone now.
Yeah.
No, all those trials are gone.
Every
He didn't have all
single
those.
one's gone. He didn't do a single
He
one
only
except
had
for the
one
Stormy
trial,
Daniels.
and it was Stormy Daniels, right? That was the only trial they
He
had.
delayed all of them, and then all of them were either thrown out by judges or the charges were dropped because he's now
Yeah, I'm just saying. I forget the technicalities of what cases were dropped,
Yeah.
what trials.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Y'all
no.
get my point. There were hundreds of
Yes.
Anyway,
we're not-
94.
and my point is we're not going to get a chance to see those
Yeah.
things play
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we could go on. There's other things we could talk about. Him, President Trump, making comments about how he's not really going to be able to affect the grocery store prices, or it's going to be harder than what he thinks. He's
Shocker.
proposed peace plans to end the war in Russia, and Putin basically saying, yeah, we're not interested in any of that. So there's all these things. But the thing that has, I think, just come out of left field,
even for Trump.
that has shocked us the most is all of a sudden out of nowhere. I mean, just over the last week, there have been proposals to purchase Greenland. And for those of you who don't know, Greenland is actually a territory or province of Denmark.
Which he contests.
Which he contests, I understand. But the European Union considers them part of Denmark and all these things. To purchase Greenland from Denmark, to take back control
For how much?
of...
Did he say?
I'll look it up in
Is there
just
an
a second.
amount? I mean, or is this just
I'll look it up.
conjecture?
Did he mention purchasing?
80
Yeah, he
billion.
did.
80 billion.
No, he said purchasing.
The number
Yeah.
80 billion sounds right to me, but
Seems like a drop in the hat when I think about what we spent. Man, if you get Greenland for 80 billion, that's probably not a bad deal. I mean, we spent way more than that to
but at a
Ukraine.
time at a time when we're talking about lowering the budget. And
Well,
doing
there's
all
got to
these
be.
things.
He's got to want the resources, right? You
We'll
want to
see.
go, and Greenland is full of minerals.
Well, let me talk about this real quick. So there's also Panama Canal. He wants to take back control of Panama Canal, which
So we can rename it.
Jimmy Carter gave control back to Panama, which of course he recently passed away as well. That was something else that happened.
100 years old.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And then the biggest news is he wants to acquire
Wait, you didn't mention the renaming of the other part.
Oh yeah, he wants to rename the
Gulf of America sounds
Gulf
pretty
of
awesome.
Mexico to the Gulf of America.
That's so funny.
But he wants to acquire
Gulf of America.
the nation of Canada and make it the
Wait. No,
say
no,
it with a straight
no,
face.
No. You said acquire. I'm
Acquire.
not really sure it's purchase, is it?
The nation of Canada?
Yeah, was it purchased?
No,
When you say
no.
acquire, that I usually infers like buying
No. Like
of some type.
He'd love there to be a merger.
A merger.
He's mentioned about 5 times over the last
Yeah.
few months.
Okay.
Merger, whatever it is.
Yeah, like North America finally becoming whole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? North America.
I feel like he's even floated stuff out there about Mexico as well. So, but
United
who knows?
States of North
I think he prefers Canada to
America.
Mexico. Anyways, your reaction, your thoughts to expansionists.
Man, how do I?
This is your moment. You've been waiting for this moment the entire time.
What do you say to that? I mean, okay,
Go red, white, and blue.
You're skipping even the most important part of that. And I watched this multiple times to make sure I was not seeing this wrong. But a reporter asked him, "Can you give us your word that there will not be military force used against Greenland in the case of Greenland or Panama Canal regarding your most recent comments?" And he said, "No, I can't give you an assurance of that." I'm like, what is happening?
I want to know what's at Greenland. What's in Greenland? There, I mean,
So
you've been to Iceland.
Greenland's full of
the
ice,
green
ice
place.
is full of green.
Right. Greenland's icy, right?
Uh-huh.
It's actually
That's where the original Vikings were from,
a
right?
book I just read actually said that there is a huge, one of the largest deposits. Again, this was a science book. So, largest deposit of minerals, of all different types of minerals, are actually pulled out of Greenland because of previous meteor hit. Like years and years, I don't want to say years, it's depending on what you, long time ago, meteor hitting there. So could it be that it's, obviously, why else would you want a territory like that except that you want to drill? You want the resources, right?
It's really hard to begin to go down the road of hypothesizing, what's the word I'm looking for, without impugning motives.
Sure.
Because, I mean, I think a critical view could be when you are hungry for power and you do seem to be complimentary of the Putins of the world and those. And to me, it's disturbing to hear a next step be an actual legitimate suggestion of taking over other countries. That is a big deal. That is a big deal.
I gotta say, for all of us, and like you said, probably even him, unless it was like, it felt like all of this was way out of left field.
So
like no one expected this idea of expansion.
So that brings up the question, why?
Yeah, again, that's what I think. Like, what is the motive?
So at this point, let's just be honest. We're 3 pastors in Central Ohio.
Yeah, we have no clue.
We have no clue. So we'll do this.
We'll do an episode on the Bible.
We'll do the thing. Yes, we will. We'll do the thing that you all do around your kitchen tables. We'll just speculate.
That's
what we're doing.
That was what I was looking for.
So,
Yeah.
speculate. Well, why do you think?
Why do you think? The only thing I can really imagine is that that it has to do with resources. Why did anybody back in the, I don't know, hundreds of years ago, why did they colonize? It was for resources. It was resources. Why do you go and plant someplace and you don't want to live there or move there? I mean, England's known for this as well. I mean, the British did this. It's because you want resources out of it. Like, to me, that's the most. It's different than having bases and, like, again, if you go back in the history of the United States, when we've been in wars and we've had to go over onto foreign soil to fight back, and Germany, all this stuff, part of what was left after that, hey, we'll leave you your country, but you're leaving us bases. And we've got now places that we can jump to do resources, do stuff around the globe. So there's that. I mean, we've seen that happen with the Middle East. I mean, with Desert Storm and all that.
Yeah. Would you not say historically?
When you're talking about locally, when we're talking about north of us, south of us, Greenland, which is, again, north of us, they're almost contiguous. But I don't see what the benefit is if they're not trying to get resource out of it. I mean, these places have their own problems.
Okay. Again, I don't want to impugn motive, but when you look back historically, would you not agree in all the empires of the world that it's probably I mean, when you think about Napoleon, I honestly don't think Napoleon cared about resources. I mean, I think a lot of historians and even psychologists would say a lot of it's just psychological. It's a conquest for more. It's a conquest for status, for glory.
That was
the
a Greek and Roman Empire.
Yeah, I mean, so I think you can make the argument it's about half and half: resources, personal conquest, glory.
Well, again,
pride.
that would be impugning
Right.
motive. I don't.
But that's what we're talking about.
I don't.
So I don't know.
I don't know that to be true, but I mean,
there's a couple things. So I think right now, you look at Greenland, and it is a source of a ton of natural resource. Their domestic product, by the way, was like $3.2 billion.
Sorry, I don't interrupt. But by the way, a lot of people would argue that's why Putin did what he did. Not because Ukraine has a lot of resources, but for the glory.
I don't think he did it for resources. I think the narrative with Russia was that it was to
part of the
pose a
original
security risk.
Yeah,
that was what Russia said.
Well, that was the reason why they said that they were going to get
correct.
to
I'm
it.
saying that's what they said.
But he wants to restore the.
And it used to, some of
USSR.
it used to be part of Russia.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be like going, hey, if Mexico used to be part of it, it's like, well, we're taking Mexico back.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that would be the scenario.
So there's resources. There's a lot of people predicting with climate change. Again, I don't know where you personally stand on climate change, but if the ice continues to recede in certain parts of northern Canada and then around Greenland, that there's going to be major shipping lanes that will actually open up between the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean that would allow a lot of trade back and forth and controlling some of those shipping lanes and regions would be important for security and trade in that part of the world.
But do you think, and I don't mean this demeaning, do you think Trump believes in climate change?
He says he doesn't. Well, there's people who he follows or who follow him who say that they don't. But that's just
because I'm
just giving the reasons why.
I just mean like policy-wise, almost all of his policies would be anti-environmental protection when it comes to climate change.
I think that, but what I'm saying is because of climate change, this would happen. So they're anticipating that these shipping lanes and things are going to be opening up down the road. In that case, we need to be in position. It is well known that Russia and China have been making significant investments into their Arctic preparations, troops, well, not troops per se, but like infrastructure. China actually, I didn't realize this, but China has actually gone and put up a ton of power lines and infrastructure in Greenland, trying to make an investment into Greenland right now in order to make overtures to the people of Greenland. So there are foreign powers who are interested in this territory that we're talking about. Trump himself said that we're subsidizing pretty much all of Canada's defense, their national defense, their military, things like that. And we have a trade deficit with China, according to President Trump. I don't know if that's true or not. I have to look that up. And he's like, we don't need to trade with them. We just do it because we're a good neighbor. And so if we're already at a deficit with them and we're working to subsidize their national defense, why would they not just be a part of us and pay taxes and do everything that we do? I mean, that's his logic and reasoning. My question is in all this, I think where we need to start is, do the people of Canada and Greenland actually want this?
How does something like that peacefully actually happen?
Well, there would
have
be
conversations between the government and they could vote on it.
Yeah, there would be a vote.
I think from a lot of the Canadians that I've met, now, the ones I've met are usually ones that come back and forth across the border. So this could be a total misrepresentation.
Yeah, it's anecdotal.
But it seems like a
anecdotal.
lot of them probably wouldn't mind being part of the United States.
Oh, I would venture to say 90% of Canada would, if there was a vote, would vote against that.
Really?
Oh,
why do you think 90%?
Would vote to be a part of a country that they, number one, look at with political disdain. It's a super liberal place by and large. Number three, vote to. This is a big deal to Canadians. A vote to be a part of a place where they now have to pay for health care. Oh, well, I think 90.
See, but that's There's again anecdotal. We know people. We have family that live in Canada, and they'll tell you it's not all that's cracked up to be.
Sure.
I mean, when they've got, I don't want to give the situation, when they got something where they need to be seen and they're told it's going to be 2 years, before they can be seen for someone in their family. Like they have to go out of pocket and actually figure out another way, or come to the United States to get it. You'd be surprised how many Canadians come to the United States for work when they can. So, and even the whole idea about being really liberal, yeah, you have really liberal leadership who's resigning because people are getting tired of the really liberal stuff. So I don't know. I'd be shocked. I'm not saying they won. That's why I'm saying I just have a very small sampling. I'm not saying that Canadians in general. I'm just saying a lot of the ones I've met, there's a reason why a lot of them come down to the United States all the time.
So,
and they do.
When we talk about resources, too, let me just reference this, that a lot of the resources in Greenland in particular, and also maybe northern Canada, parts of northern Canada, there are resources, in particular minerals underneath the ground that are useful and helpful in the development of chip technology.
Exactly.
Energy sources
Lithium.
to power, data banks, different things like that. These are all things, by the way, I'm going to circle back and complete the loop from earlier in our conversation. I think this is why you see Silicon Valley execs lining up behind President Trump right now, because they sense the blood in the water, and he has promised them billions of dollars worth of investment in building data banks, technology investments, things like that, that are going to help fund further AI developments in this country. And they all want a piece of it, and they all want in on it, and so they're going to play the game. That's why I think you see Mark Zuckerberg bending the knee, so to speak, to President Trump, because he wants a piece of the pie.
You know what's interesting about Greenland? How many people do you guys think live there?
Oh, it's under 1 million for sure.
I just looked it up. I'm just curious. That's why I was chuckling. How many? Take
Not
a guess.
many.
Under 500,000, I think.
55,000.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's not that many people that live there. I'm not saying it's not important or valuable. Probably who would want to live there? It seems like a pretty difficult place to live. And my guess is most of the jobs are probably pulling minerals and resources out. What else do you do? You know what I mean? That there's export.
Fishing or coastal.
Fishing or like that. And so, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, all we're doing is assuming what's behind it. I wouldn't be surprised if technology is not behind it. It is the largest cache of the type of materials that you need for technology things.
Yes. And I think
it's found there.
And I think there's a lot of money behind President Trump, obviously with Elon, and then others that are heavily invested. Peter Thiel with JD Vance and others, like, who are invested in that world. And so I'm just saying,
$80 billion.
This is something.
Write a check for that.
This is something that
I'm just buying Greenland myself.
This is something that, because this is nothing that he campaigned on. I mean, this was not a part
this is brand
of
new.
any of the campaign. It was all like, how are you going to reduce the costs around the grocery table
Maybe
and
this
do
is
all
how
this?
he's going to do it.
Well, I think it's a nice distraction for people when he realizes, I can't just pull the lever and lower the cost of goods for everyone. Hope everyone understands that. So
I just probably will put it on record here myself. I'm against colonization.
That's good.
So I'm just saying I'm against colonization. Now, expansion is an interesting topic, but I know we're at the end of this, but I think cooperative expansion, if it benefits everybody and there's somebody sees that it's worth it, both sides, and there's voting, then I don't know if I'm against that.
Again, my alarm comes up when you refuse to say I will not use military force.
That almost kind of seems like everybody, because of the technology stuff. I'm telling you, the AI stuff and all that. It's driving a lot of this stuff.
We do have 1 minute left,
and I'm just wondering if that's pushing. Like, I wonder if you're going to see an all-out assault on getting places like Greenland and other thing to the point where.
And I want to say too, I don't think anytime you see an expansion of powers, and you lose, there's so much culture, there's so much like even across the entire nation of Canada, you have Mexico, you have Greenland. I mean, there's just so much culture, and when you see all that get morphed into one mega country, you're just losing so much identity on people, and it's just not good. So
we need to be.
There's so much more we can talk about.
Play the Canadians in ice hockey at the Olympics.
Yes, we do.
That's what we need to be able to do.
Against colonization.
Fascinating time.
It is. Interesting times. All right. Until next week.
Well, we should ask people if they have opinions on any of these to let us know.
What country should we take over?
First.
Kidding. Okay. It is, yeah. Very, very
Gulf
fascinating
of
times.
America.
I did have, when I flew back in from Greenville, I had an Uber driver pick me up at the airport, and he was from Guam. And he just told me, this is just one person, but he said, he goes, can I ask what you think about all the things been going on in the news, the world terror attacks?
Really?
Can I just ask your opinion? Do you mind? I was like, sure. And I just said, I think it's tragic. I said, I think what's really sad is that it's almost become the norm. It's almost numb. So it's almost like, yeah, I didn't. He goes, did you expect these things to happen on New Year's Day? I said, I didn't expect it, but I wasn't surprised by it, which is sad. And he's like, no, I feel the same way. And he goes, I just hope. And he didn't get super political. He goes, I just hope, there's whenever these things happen. And he said, I know there's an administration switch about to happen. The conversation always goes to immigrants. And he goes, for me as an immigrant, he said, it just scares me. And I hope people don't buy into rhetoric that makes them afraid of people that aren't like them.
It's pretty cool.
I just think it's always good for us just to remember all these things that happen in society affect global things and also personal things. Let's always keep the individuals in mind, and with all of our, hypothesizing, let's keep loving people better. Who knows what this year will hold?
No idea.
But we will be here. I don't know if it'll be helpful, but we'll talk about it.
And maybe we'll be alive in 25.
We didn't even get into the bird flu. This man's got us panicking over him and his doctor friends.
Wow.
So
that's another conversation.
That's another conversation. We will see you next week.
Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner. Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.